So humility means that we see, I am very small and I am very fallen. It means that we take responsibility for the fact that we are fallen. We accept, I am choosing at every moment not to fully surrender to Krishna. This is not just some decision that I made in some distant past, whatever you want to discuss for 1,000 years about how the jiva fell, and we can all argue about this. But it is not just that. Prabhupada said 24 hours, every moment, Krishna is imperceptibly giving us a choice to surrender or not. Are we always choosing to surrender? Anybody here can say every moment, I am choosing to surrender. So this is my responsibility, and still Krishna, he's giving me a body. He's giving me a world. He's giving me flowers. Also in the prison, they just give basic food. There's no menu. No. I helped edit this book, Salted Bread, about these devotees in the former Soviet Union who got arrested for distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And they said, you have to tell us, where are you storing the books? Where are you printing the books? And they would not tell. So they were put in the prison and they were beaten. I mean really beaten and tortured, and they would not say. And in the prison, there was no vegetarian food except bread. So for 2 years, this was about 2 young men in their 20s. They'd been devotees maybe 2 years. They weren't even initiated. And all they ate for 2 years was salt and bread. You can understand what this did to their health, yes? But the prison guards, they didn't care. If you don't want to eat the meat, that is your problem. But look what Krishna gives us. How many kinds of mangoes? Like 40, 50 kinds of mangoes. 40, 50 kinds of apples. So many different kinds of rice. So not only do we get rice and wheat and millet and barley, with each of these, there are kinds of kinds. And so much variety. Who here every day, or most days, has access to more food than they can eat? Who here has access to more food than they can eat? Look at them. Who has more clothes than you absolutely need? That's amazing. My dear friends, we do not deserve this at all. That's the truth. So gratitude is completely connected with humility. A proud person cannot be grateful. They will think, I deserve more. Then gratitude brings joy. So I discovered this on my 45th birthday, when the devotees at the temple where I was living threw a big surprise party for me. This is funny because our daughter just had her 45th birthday, and at the same temple, the devotees threw a big surprise party for her also, in the same place. Anyway, I did not expect that at all. I didn't expect it. I didn't think I deserved it. I was completely surprised, and I was overwhelmed with gratitude. And I was overwhelmed with happiness. And then I could understand my joy in everything. And you tell me if you get this or not. My joy in everything is inversely proportional to how much I think I deserve it. the less I think I deserve something, the more joy I have in it. Like right now, we have the light of the sun. Are we grateful? Or do we just think, yeah, the sun comes up, that's what it does. That's what it's supposed to do, Kapiladev says. Out of fear of me, the sun is shining, the wind is blowing. That's his job, Surya. He's just doing his job. You know, in the subterranean heavenly planets, the demons live without sunlight. Imagine if we actually feel we deserve nothing. See, we are so afraid of this. We're thinking, if I think I deserve nothing, then everyone will abuse me. First of all, people will abuse you if you are humble or if you are proud. I absolutely guarantee, I will give you 100% money back guarantee that people will abuse you. Doesn't matter who you are, what you are. People will cheat you, they'll betray you, they'll lie to you, they'll disappoint you. Guaranteed. They tried to do this even with God, so why not us? Being humble will not keep you safe, and being proud will not keep you safe. What will keep you safe is knowing Madhe Krishna Rakike, Rake Krishna Madhike. That will keep you safe. And knowing Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire. Nobody can hurt me. If you become more humble, you will not become abused more. That doesn't work like that. But you will become more joyful. Wow, there's sunshine. There's birds. There's trees. Wow. There's a temple. There's devotees. That's amazing. I have water. And everything will fill you with joy. Everything. Just like sometimes we lose something for a while, and then when you get it back, you appreciate it. Isn't it? Right? You get sick, and you can't speak. And then your voice comes back, and wow, I can speak. And then again, we forget. Or you get bad stomach ache. And then you're well, and you're like, wow, I'm not in pain anymore. And then after 2-3 hours, you forget. I'm just like, yeah. But if we were constantly aware that everything is a gift, everything. Prabhupada talks about how the demons think that they have earned everything by their activities. Actually, that is very Rajagun. Rajagun is, see everything that I have. I have worked for it. I have sacrificed for it. I have earned it. And I will tell you how many hours I spent to earn all of these things, and how much money, and what I did. This is mine. That is very much Rajagun. But the devotee sees everything as a gift from Krishna. And the devotee sees even the difficult things are a gift from Krishna. Everything. Oh, I am suffering, but probably I should have suffered more. Krishna has reduced. Or maybe by this suffering I am learning some lesson that I was too wood-headed to learn in another way. Right? One time I prayed to Krishna, you have been teaching me through suffering for a very long time. I said, but I am a teacher. I have many teaching methods. So you must have more teaching methods. Why are you using only one? I said, why don't you try teaching me through ecstasy instead of through suffering? And then I said, and I will learn. I said, I will listen. I said, I promise you that if you teach me through joy, I will learn and I will listen. So he did. And then I was like, oh, now I have to actually listen. But Krishna teaches us through suffering because we're so, wood-headed, that when he's trying to teach us through joy, we're just like, oh. So for that, we are also grateful. We are grateful that Krishna doesn't give up on us. That when we don't learn just by reading Shastra, that he keeps trying. And he doesn't want to hurt us. Prabhupada says in the first canto that Krishna punishes the demons with regret. But he cares about us so much that he's willing to go to that point to give us some difficulty. So we're grateful for that as well. Now, what's interesting is there's a lot of research that shows that gratitude has a huge effect on our mental and physical health. That people who regularly practice gratitude do not have so many mental problems. And even there are diseases, this is absolutely true, that can be cured simply with gratitude. Interesting, isn't it? Now this is because gratitude pushes us at least into sattva gun. People in tamas are not grateful for anything. People in tamas, according to the Gita, are very easily offended. Anyone who is very easily offended means they think they deserve this much. And anything you are giving them is too little. And people in Rajas, they think they have earned everything. Everything is due to their power. So when one practices gratitude, that is something that pushes us into sattva. Now if you think about what is sattva, sat means true, good, and existence. When we are in sattva, we are in harmony with what is true. Sattva, tva means ness, goodness, truthness, existence-ness. That's not an English word. But just to understand, you follow? The state of being in truth, in good. There's a discussion in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam about whether or not God is partial or impartial. And the answer is he is impartial, but the world favors sattva. Sattva means what is true. If you think about this building, there's a door and there's a wall. So the architect and the builders, they did not make the wall to cause you pain. But if you try to walk through the wall, you will feel pain. That is our fault, not the fault of the architect or the builder. If you try to get out a building through the window, that will also cause you pain. But if you walk through the door, everything will be very nice. So when we say everything favors sattva, it means it's almost, in logic we call it tautology. It means the world favors what is real. If you do what is real and what is true, you will be happier than if you do something that is not true. It's actually quite simple. So because we are very small, and because we are very fallen, that is what's true, and because everything we get is the mercy of the Lord, because that is true, when we live in that way, we are living in harmony with what is true, and therefore we are happy. Does this make logical sense to everybody? Like there is some man in the Guinness Book of World Records who ate an airplane, little by little. But that is not true. We're not supposed to, it's not what's in harmony with the body. You understand? Like if I say, instead of having this ginger tea, I'm going to try to eat the cup. I will break my teeth. It will cause me pain if I do something that is not true. Pride is false. Does this make sense to everybody? Any pride, this much pride, is immediately false. Not seeing the mercy of the Lord in everything is false. And therefore we suffer. And when we act in truth, even our body works better. Does this make sense to everybody? Like if you eat food that is designed for your body, your health will be better. So if we have a mental disposition that is in line with truth, our mind and our body will work better. But gratitude can be in sattva or in bhakti. So sattva means you are doing what is true because you want to be happy. So this is much more intelligent than rajas and tamas. Because in tamas Krishna says there's no happiness. And in rajas, there's some little happiness in the beginning. But in sattva, if there is any material happiness, it is in sattva. Because in sattva, you're in harmony with sat. You're sattva. But it is still me-centered. I am forgiving. I am grateful. Because I am so spiritual. I am in harmony. This makes me feel so happy. And there's a little bit of pride there in sattva also. Look at these other people in rajas and tamas who are not grateful. I am better than them. You understand? There's a little pride. There's a little ahankar. This is why we see in the Shastra, even the great brahmanas in sattva sometimes become insulted and angry and curse people. Because it's not Shuddha sattva. In bhakti, I am grateful to make Krishna happy. That's all. The fact that it makes me happy, actually, I don't even notice. Srila Rupa Goswami calls this sa-artha, where my happiness and Krishna's happiness are one. I become, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, unlimitedly happy through Krishna, but my focus is on Krishna's happiness. Can we understand how gratitude would make Krishna happy? If I do something for you and you are grateful, will that make me happy? If I do something for you and you think you deserve it and you are critical of it, will that make me happy? Or if I do something for you and you don't even notice, you just take it for granted, will that make me happy? So Prabhupada says we can understand something of Krishna by looking at ourselves. So in bhakti, one practices gratitude because Krishna becomes happy. Oh, you are seeing all these things as coming from me, as coming from my mercy. Let's look at Arjuna's gratitude to Dronacharya here, because this is very interesting in terms of particularly the Varna part of Varna Dharma. So we've written a book, Career Dharma, which is about the Varna part of Varnashram. So each Varna has powers according to their qualification to use them. So in ancient times, the Brahmanas had more military powers than the Kshatriyas. We talk about how the Kshatriyas would respect the Brahmanas. That was not all culture. Some of it was practical. That you knew if a Brahmana came to you and said, become a frog, you were a frog. And everyone saw this in the yajnas. They would take some old horse, and the Brahmanas do some mantras, and it becomes a young horse. And they're like, whoa, I better be careful around these people. And we have Vishwamrita. He was fighting this battle with Vasistha about Vasista's cow, his Kamadhenu, because he was envious and he thought, I want this cow. Very bad idea. That was lack of gratitude, right? Seriously. I mean, Vasistha fed his whole army. And he's like, I'm the king, I should have it. And he starts taking the cow away by force. And the cow starts producing armies. And Vishwamrita is like, whoa. Then he starts attacking Vasistha directly. And Vasistha just has a staff. I think all the stories today of the wizards with the staff, they come from some reality. Vasistha just takes his staff and he made him come awake, these guys. See, this is the problem with my talking at 40% speed. It makes you sleepy. But I have to do this for the Hindi speakers. I could much more easily keep you awake if I talked at my normal American speed, but then you wouldn't be able to follow at all, but you'd stay awake. So for their sake, please try to stay awake when I am at 40% speed. So then Vishwamrita started throwing weapons at Vasistha, and Vasistha took his staff, and from his staff, he was able to defeat all of Vishwamrita's weapons. And Vishwamrita was like, I have to be a Brahmana so I can get better weapons. It was a long journey for him. It took him 60,000 years and he had some problems. But the point you see there is that the Brahmanas had greater weapons that were not usually given to the Kshatriyas. Like the Kshatriyas had power that was not given to the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas had power not given to the Shudras. Sometimes a Brahmana would see that here is a Kshatriya who's a Rajarshi. They're a Kshatriya, but they're a Bhakta. They're a devotee. So even though they have the nature of a Kshatriya, they are not exploited. Just like we have the story of Eklavya, where Eklavya went to Dronacharya and he stole. And Dronacharya didn't want him to have this knowledge because he wasn't qualified to use it. So sometimes, for some people, the Brahmanas would give Brahminical weaponry to the Kshatriyas. And that was part of their service. Why are they keeping these weapons? They're not using them themselves. They use them sometimes when the Kshatriyas get out of hand, like the Brahmanas with Vena, who just went But they keep them to give to highly qualified people. So we don't have very many examples of Kshatriyas receiving these weapons. Of course, Ram and Lakshman, interestingly from Vishwamrita, who by that time was a Brahmana and had all these weapons, and here from Arjuna. So Arjuna got weapons from Drona that the other Pandavas did not get. Just Arjuna. He got weapons also from the higher planets. Yeah? So this was really something special that Draupadi is saying. You should be very grateful for this. These weapons have to be used very carefully. By the way, this is one reason why Dronacharya was wrong to actually fight. So those of you who are at the main temple in Pune who will come to my class tonight on career Dharma, and we will talk about what happens when people go into the wrong varna, into the wrong field. Dronacharya was not supposed to fight because he had an unfair advantage. He had weapons that the other Kshatriyas had no access to. They couldn't defeat him. Also, the Kshatriyas are told never to attack a Brahmana. So they don't want to fight him. They don't want to fight him. They're afraid. If I fight him, I may become a frog. They're afraid. And also it's unfair. And at the end, he was told, actually by the Devas, what you have done is wrong. You should not have been using these weapons in this battle. You should not have been fighting. Stop. And then he stopped, right? And he started doing his real business of meditating. And then he voluntarily left his body. So now you may ask, are there any times when gratitude is a problem? And the answer is yes. Gratitude is a problem when done in rajas. Just like Krishna explains that charity in rajas is you're giving something to somebody with the idea that it will benefit you. You're not really just giving. I mean, even in sattva that is true. But in sattva you're thinking it will benefit me by making me feel so happy. In rajas you're thinking it will benefit me in some practical way. If I give charity, I will get my name there and people will respect me more. Then when I visit the temple, they will give me a garland and a mahaplate. This actually happened to me. I was given some money and so I donated it to the Goshal in Mayapur. I told them, keep my donation anonymous. But they didn't listen to me. Anyway, so then when I visited, then they were welcoming me with ghee-lambs and garlands and mahaprasadam. And I said, look, this was a one-time thing. Someone gave me a donation and I'm giving to you. I said, I don't have like a lot of money in my pocket. You'll not get this again. Oh, that's okay, Mataji. Next time I came again, they were, and I said again, I don't have more. And after that, they're finished. I was a nobody again. They didn't care if I came or didn't come. So this is rajas. So in rajas, people are grateful like that. Because they're thinking, if I show gratitude to you, this will benefit me in some way. It's calculated. And we see a real, it's not meant to give oneself inner joy. And it's certainly not meant to please Krishna. And we see this with Karna. Karna was very grateful to Duryodhana. That's nice. That's good. But why? Because he's thinking, nobody took care of me my whole life. Nobody ever respected me. I was always treated like dirt. And Duryodhana, he has respected me. Do you see how this is the opposite of humility? Do you understand? He's thinking, I deserve to be treated like a king. And finally, somebody recognizes how great I actually am. So I am grateful. That is not actual gratitude. Is this very clear? And because he felt so grateful to Duryodhana, he did something extremely foolish. Krishna himself came to him and said, you are Kunti's son. He says, yes, Kunti has already told me. He said, you will be accepted as one of the Pandavas. We can make you ruler of the world. No, 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 he said. I am grateful to Duryodhana. That was wrong. Do you follow how that was wrong? He made a big mistake. But that was not real gratitude. That was a parody. It was a semblance. It looked like gratitude, but it wasn't. It looked like Dharma, but it wasn't. It was calculated. It was selfish. It was full of pride. And honestly, even here, with this particular story, yes, the Pandavas should have gratitude to Drona. And yes, that should be kept in mind when dealing with Asvatthama. That's true. But not that Asvatthama should just be let go with no punishment. That would not please Krishna. As you go on in this story, this is one of the most fascinating stories in the Shastra. Yes, we are grateful to Dronacharya, but look at what Asvatthama has done. He brought Kripacharya and what was the other one? One more. Into the Pandavas' camp at night. Who was the other one? Anyway, he brought the two warriors into the Pandavas' camp at night, and he was enthused by the energy of Shiva, and he just murdered people at night. I mean, in modern warfare, this is very common. You know, that's what we're hearing now going on in Israel, how, you know, Hamas just goes and they're just cutting off babies' heads. But this was done by Asvatthama, actually. He cut off the heads of the sleeping children. I mean, they weren't children. And he fought against the rest of the Pandava army when they were sleeping. They didn't have their weapons. They didn't have their armor. And that wasn't the end of it. Then when he was under personal threat, he sent out the Brahmastra. He didn't care. I'm under threat. Let me destroy the whole world. You know, like at the end of World War II, when it became obvious that the Allies were going to win. So Hitler started telling his armies, destroy Germany. You know this? Any of you who studied history. So Hitler told his generals, destroy Germany. Destroy the bridges, burn the fields. He said, let the Allies come to a useless place. Let them win nothing. And the generals didn't listen to him. They thought, why should we destroy our country for our own people? So Asvatthama had this mood, if I'm going to be attacked, this justifies me to destroy the world. This was very demoniac. And no amount of gratitude for Dronacharya should fully excuse Asvatthama. Does this make sense to everyone? It had to be part of the equation. It had to be part of what was considered. But you're not going to say, like Karna did, oh, I'm grateful to Duryodhana, therefore I will do whatever he says. Mm-hmm. So how can we practice gratitude? Well, many of us keep a gratitude diary. I have been doing this now for many years, where every day I write down what I'm grateful for, and I try to be very specific. And then throughout the day, I work at being grateful, especially when my mind starts to complain. I don't like this prasadam. I'm grateful I have something to eat. Oh, I have to do laundry again. I'm grateful I have food and clothing. I'm grateful I have facility to do laundry. You understand? Anytime our mind is complaining about something, then I try to switch it. What can I be grateful for here? Even in the most negative things, there is something for which to be grateful. Yeah? So some of you may know, he introduced me as 14 grandchildren. Unfortunately, I now have 13 grandchildren. So in January, my 24-year-old grandson died in a motorcycle car accident. So you think, what can you be grateful for? But for the 2-3 days before he died, and when he died, there were thousands of devotees all over the world that were praying for him. They were doing yajnas and pujas. They were sending videos. I mean, Radhana Swami wrote me an email. That is not common. I am praying for him. Jayapataka Swami sent me this, is doing pujas for him. So I was so grateful. So even in some tragedy, there is something for which one can be grateful. And to notice when our mind goes into the entitlement and pride place. Why are they treating me like this? They shouldn't treat me like this. Notice it and say, wait a minute, who am I? What am I? I'm a wonderful, pure soul, part of God, with the qualities of God in a small degree. I am eternal. I am beautiful. I am a genius. Nobody can hurt me. And as a conditioned soul, I am a piece of garbage. I am just a human being in Kali Yuga on some little tiny insignificant planet who will be forgotten in 50 years. That's the truth. And to step back and go, what can I be grateful for? What can I be grateful for to please Krishna? So this is a very small change. You don't have to put a lot of time or energy or work into it. It's not some big thing. You don't have to take, a 500,000, 5 lakh rupee course, how to be grateful. Just start little practice, as many times as you can, but especially when the mind complains. What can I be grateful for? Turn it. All right? So it's time to end. Thank you for your patience with my very slow speaking. Was it okay for you? And all the noise in the background? You are the most tolerant group I have ever spoken to. So I could take 1 or 2 questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Madam. Loving class. This is very important subject matter of gratitude. Sometimes devotee expect. Hare Krishna. Sometimes devotee expect them from themselves too much, so they feel frustrated. How much to expect from oneself depends upon, because
so sometimes people are very heavy with themselves.
yeah, they're expecting themselves from themselves. They get frustrated.
Well, that's another class. But we are also part and parcel of Krishna. If you hate yourself, you are hating a part of Krishna. It says the demons are envious of themselves. We're thinking that if we don't put a lot of pressure on ourselves, we will just be lazy, useless persons. But I don't think that's true. Krishna says that we should relish and rejoice in the self. We have words Atmarama, Atmatusti, Atmarati, but the real self. So our false self is going to make mistakes all the time. I will promise you that your human Kali Yuga self is a mess. Anybody here is not a mess as a Kali Yuga human? Yeah? We're all a mess. We don't always keep the standards we believe in. We don't always treat the people around us the way we believe in. We don't always treat ourselves the way we believe in. Am I correct? As a Kali Yuga human, it's terrible. But everyone else is a Kali Yuga human, and that's not going to change. In this life, you're not going to be a Deva. Sorry. It's not going to happen. It's just not. Be kind. But as a soul, we're wonderful. So if we wanted to encourage someone, Prabhupada said bhakti is like learning how to walk. Yes, he says this in Nectar of Devotion. Bhakti is like learning how to walk. So walking is natural. But sometimes children are raised by animals and they don't learn how to walk. You know that? Feral children, you can look it up. And some of them never learn how to walk properly. So part of how children learn how to walk is by seeing other people walking. And then I want to walk too. So is it easy? How many of you have seen a child learn how to walk? How many of you have seen a child learn how to walk? So first they just stand up, usually holding something. And they're so excited. And then what happens? And nobody criticizes. The parents, today they will make a video on WhatsApp, and they'll send to all the relatives. He stood up for 2 seconds. Then later they stand up without holding. And then take 1 step, fall. And the baby gets so excited. 2 steps, fall. And the falling doesn't discourage them. Am I correct? They even get bruises, actually. Little babies from falling. They do. They get bruises. But they're not discouraged. They celebrate their progress. So we all did that, my dear friends, because we are now walking. This is how we should deal with ourselves in bhakti progress. Celebrate your progress. Be grateful for whatever progress you made. That is all by the grace of Guru and Krishna. Actually, we cannot progress in bhakti without the grace of Guru and Krishna. This is not a mechanical process we are doing by our own strength. And whatever difficulties we have, get up and try again. And don't beat yourself up for the difficulties. We will have difficulties. Absolutely certain. Certain. And some things we will have difficulty with for a long time. Some things will be very easy, and immediately we'll be able to do them. Other things we can do with some effort, and some things we will be struggling with for a while. And that will be different for each person. My easy things may be your struggle. My struggle may be your easy. You understand? But treat ourselves like we would treat a baby learning how to walk. If we're putting pressure on ourselves all the time, it actually is harmful. And it's not, that's actually very rajas, and sometimes even tamas. If we're hating ourselves, it's tamas. And if we're always trying to push and force ourselves, that is rajas. We should at least be in sattva, where we're flowing. And preferably we shouldn't be in bhakti, where we're playing. But we're also part of Krishna. I cannot say I love Krishna, but I don't love myself. That doesn't make sense. Also, you know what happens. If we're very critical of ourselves, guarantee you will be critical of others. Guarantee. And then the people will say, well, it's okay that I'm very critical of others because I'm also very critical of myself. And I'm like, oh, And you see, are these people happy? We think that this is humility. I'm so fallen today. I'm terrible. I can't do anything right. That's not the humility of the great devotees. When the great devotees are saying, I have no devotion, I have no sadhana, they're in ecstasy because they're thinking, even though I'm so fallen, still there's Krishna, and still he's giving me mercy. They're full of their fallen state is giving them gratitude. Then psychologically, we will work very hard for anything that gives us positive emotions. If something is giving us positive experiences and emotions, we will repeat it. And if something is giving us negative emotions, we will stay away from it. So if every time you're chanting japa, you're thinking, I didn't chant attentively enough. I wasn't focused enough. I'm really not very good at chanting japa. I don't know what I'm going to do. Then are you going to want to chant japa? No. You're going to think, oh, I get to feel bad about myself again. Does this make sense to everyone? You know, you can do the right thing out of love and gratitude. You don't have to do the right thing out of punishment. You can drive safely because you love yourself and you love the passengers and you love the other drivers, not just because you're afraid of an accident. We can be motivated by trying to please Guru and Krishna. We don't need to beat ourselves to be motivated. It's a very rajasic and tamasic way. Did I answer your question? I wasn't sure if that was your question or not. Yes, sir. And we're going over time. I don't want to go too much longer.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In material situations, sometimes it may be very difficult to find out ways of gratitude.
Definitely.
For example, I'm just putting this question materially so that I can get the answer.
Okay.
Like Hamas has now attacked Israel.
Yes.
If Israel Prime Minister or decision maker is a devotee, how he will take it?
Oh, that is
about action. How will be his reaction?
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that.
Because there are situations where it's very difficult, like Kasab has attacked India without any fault. Many of the people were killed. So in such situation, how a devotee will take it? How he will react?
One thing you can always see in catastrophes, no matter what the catastrophe is from, is how people also come together to support each other. If there's flood, there's a hurricane, or there's a military attack, just like in America, we had the attack on the Twin Towers.
Right.
We could be grateful for the firefighters and the first responders who went in and looked for the survivors. You're grateful for the people who still show love. You can be grateful for I'm sure most of the Palestinians are not in favor of this. I'm sure.
Right.
You can be grateful for those who are actually loving.
Okay.
There's always some shining example.
Right, but how a devotee will act? If
You're asking me to answer from the point of etc.
Yeah.
Which I am not. I am not a military general, not this life. And I have no memory of any life where I was a military general. Maybe sometime, but I don't remember that. I can remember 2 of my lives, but I wasn't a military general in either of those lives. The American general, Patton, he could remember so many lives as a military general. How should a military general respond? I don't know. I can say as a devotee what should have been done to prevent this. That I can say.
Thank you.
To prevent these things, you work out ways to treat people humanely. You work out something so everybody, we teach this in career Dharma, how there can be prosperity for everybody. So this, you can say, well, they tried, but I don't know if they really tried, because I'm sure and certain that most of the Palestinians don't feel like this. So how to get people to actually talk and to mediate and to negotiate things so that we have harmony and we don't have these things happening. But sometimes even if you're a devotee like Yudhisthira, it's not possible. I mean, even Krishna couldn't negotiate with the Kauravas. So sometimes there has to be war because you're dealing with people who are so demoniac that they will not negotiate, that they would rather harm their own citizens in order to gain a military victory. So I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know if that's actually the situation or not. I don't know. But sometimes it's like that. Sometimes you really, Krishna said, give them 5 villages. No, not even as much as a pin would go in. So sometimes if people are completely unreasonable, then there is a place for military action in the world. But these things can be prevented if we can see everything belongs to Krishna and we should take care of everyone. It cannot be prevented all the time, unfortunately. That's why there has to be a military. You're not going to have, that's not going to happen, that you don't need a military. It's like you can train everybody in good conduct, but you still need a police force and a prison. It's unfortunate. So if you try to prevent crime, you can prevent, like Prabhupada talked a lot, crime, why and what to do. You can prevent a lot of crime, but you cannot prevent 100%. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, one devotee has question that you said by Sattva Guna, by cultivating Sattva Guna, we can be grateful. But when we are practicing sadhana, so how to come to the mode of goodness? Most of the time we are in the mode of passion and ignorance.
Well, that's very sad. Why are you mostly in the mode of passion and ignorance? Stop it. Study the modes. But practicing gratitude, I didn't say that if you're in sattva, you'll be grateful. I said if you practice gratitude, it will help you to be in sattva. Now, it's also true if you're already in sattva, you will naturally be grateful. But if you practice gratitude, it will push you into sattva. You cannot practice real gratitude and stay in rajas and tamas. It's incompatible. You just can't. Impossible. So if you really practice gratitude, it will push you. It will help you, and you'll be more in sattva. But sattva is also material. It's a good step. Bhaktivedanta Maharaj says, if you can't chant Hare Krishna meditating on Krishna, at least chant Hare Krishna with a mood of gratitude. So it's a good step. But ultimately we should be grateful because we love Krishna. We should be grateful for bhakti. But being grateful in sattva is a good first step. But yeah, just say, I want to be happy. Huh? Do we want to be happy? I want to be happy. Am I willing to spend 5-10 minutes total a day doing something very simple that costs me absolutely nothing to be happy? You will spend this much effort and you will get this much result. So who will not do this? Big sale item. Hey, it's hard to give a class with all the noise outside, speaking so slowly. It's hard. But I'm so grateful that you are attentive and you care and you are also willing to tolerate these austerities. I'm grateful that Prabhupada Krishna gives me some opportunity. You follow? So I could be here. It's noisy. It's really noisy. Why is it so noisy? Why is the construction going on in Bhagavatam class? Why don't they tell them to pause the construction for Bhagavatam class? Why do we have to sit outside? The temple room might be big enough. You know, we could probably sit inside. You understand? And then it's like, what can I be grateful for? It's not a difficult thing. And it's a life-changing thing. And you had a question, and then we stop.
Revealing the big bang of gratitude will give the big buck of
The big bang for the buck.
grateful to you for revealing the big bang of practice of gratitude to actually get the big buck of sustainable happiness as well as Krishna consciousness. My question is, Mataji, regarding when the brilliant example you gave of door and hitting the wall. So one is when one is able to see the door, wall, and window, and he sees people are moving, then naturally his mind is not in a complaining mode, but in a mode that why is going in the wall. So what to do with that? Because it goes in that zone of
Why are people so stupid?
you are no, not like that. I am also stupid on it.
Okay.
But what to do? How do I deal with gratitude with this?
With what specifically?
Kind of, you can see things, something is happening wrong. So one thing is I should practice gratitude.
Well, be grateful you can see that it's wrong. Most people have no idea. They're walking into the walls and they don't know why they're suffering. They have no idea. They just keep walking into the walls. So be grateful you can see that. When I was very, very new in the Hare Krishna movement and I was selling Prabhupada's books in the airport, one of the first things I could see is how everybody was in Maya. It was very interesting. I couldn't see it before. Seeing a problem is the first step. You can't solve a problem you can't see. Be grateful you have the knowledge. Be grateful you have the facility to help other people. Some of them may take it, some of them may not. Another good example is an insect. Now I have one right here. So sometimes you have an insect in your home, in your room, and it is trying to get outside. And it is trying to get outside through the glass. Because to the insect, looks like the outside. Or even you have a screen, windows open, you have a screen, and the insect is there, looks like the outside, sounds like the outside, smells like the outside, feels like the outside, must be outside. And you try to help this insect, yes? You try to get the insect to go out the door. If it's a stinging insect, then you have to try to help them very carefully. But many times you cannot help these insects. Sometimes. But sometimes you cannot. They're so insistent. No, there's the outside. It's over there. Like, no, it's over there. Come on. It's there. I can see it. I can smell it. I can feel it. It's right there. No, it's not. It's right there. So be grateful you know where is the door. Be grateful that I have higher intelligence, that I'm not trying to get out the room through the screen and dying. Then they die there, no? Yes? Everybody has an experience. You come, the insect is dead. So at least we have the knowledge and we can help others.